and the honor that you have given. I'm deeply bewildered for that. Now, very good introduction for the aim of this particular seminar has been given by Dr. Praveen, if I correctly. And he has made it a little bit easy, but I feel that I must give you a very synoptic view of the Indus civilization, touching each and every point. Now first, as he told that these days we are talking of Indus Saraswati civilization. Well, obviously when Marshall started excavating, he found that all the important sites of Harappan culture were near Indus basin or its tributary, that is Ravi. Harappa is on Ravi and Mohenjo-daro is on Indus itself. Now, he thought that the best course for it is to name it Indus civilization, and which became quite popular and was used for decades. Then it was thought that we found the expansion was there of the Indus civilization, more sites were found outside it. It is found that let us follow the practice which is in archaeology, generally they say that the civilization should be actually named on the basis of the first site discovered. And since Harappa was the first site, now they said that let us call it Harappa civilization, which after Wheeler most of the scholars have followed. Then, as we say now, it has been found that what now is called Ghaggar, or what in Pakistan is called Hakra, is the one which in ancient times was Saraswati. And since many sites on the banks or near the banks of Saraswati have been found, now there is a tendency, I found that you were telling this Michel Danino in his book, for the first time he wrote one book and started giving this name. And there is this title, with this title, Indus Civilization. S.P. Gupta has given the title of his book itself, Indus Saraswati Civilization. And as I told you, what Lal Sahib and other such people, they are now following it. What is there in the name? Of course, you can have this. There is, I hope you know who are archaeologists, they know there is a particular type of pottery called northern black polish ware. Now it has been found, it is no more northern, it has been found in south. It is no more black, it has so many shades. It is not polished at all. And yet, they say that since we have given a name and people are acquainted with this, let us go with it. Whether it is whether the nomenclature gives the right impression or not, that's a different matter. So that's one thing. So that is about the first thing that I would like to talk. Now, then after, you know, in 1872, Cunningham, who later on became the Director General, the first Director General of Archaeology he was given Sir title, and Sir Alexander Cunningham. He found one particular seal of the Indus culture and said that he couldn't read it, he couldn't do now. Even now we are not able to read what it is there, but anyway, what he said that, in my opinion, it is earlier than the earliest Brahmi inscription, and said that about 400 or 500 BC would be its date. Now we know how much difference is there, but then it's like that. Now, you know, it was actually D.R. Sani who in 1920 discovered Harappa. And the next year, R.D. Banerjee, who we know as a great scholar, he was also in archaeological survey earlier. He became very well-known person, and later on he was Manin Chandra professor in Banaras University. He discovered Mohenjo-daro. Discovered meaning thereby, the mound was known to people earlier. And you know, so far as Harappa is concerned, you perhaps know that there were two brothers, Brunton brothers. They took the, they said that we'll make this railway line from Lahore to Multan, and they dug the Harappan mound, and all these bricks were used for laying the railway line there from 400 miles from Lahore to Multan. So Harappa was destroyed right from this, because now, as the extent is concerned, Professor Ravind Kumarji has told that it's about 15 lakh square meter, greater than the greatest civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia. It is the most ancient, most extended civilization of the world. And each day, if not each day, each year we find that it's further expanding, the area is expanding. Till now we know that in the north, in Jammu, there is a place called Manda. From there to south, on the river Pravara, which is a tributary of Godavari, well, from north to south, this is the extent, and from a site called Sukabendor on the border of Iran to Alamgirpur in Meerut, well, this is the west-east extension of the civilization, a very large extent. Now, obviously, I've been associated at least with two Harappan sites, one at Lothal and the other at Alamgirpur. And I will just recall I found one chakla, the chakla belan that was made of clay, and there was an inscription on it. So as I was once again recollecting, I recollected my days when I was there excavating and found this particular anyway. So this is the extent of the civilization. Now let's come to origin. There is a time, we do not know whether they really felt it or because they were rulers, they wrote, even if they didn't feel it like that, we can't say. But there was opinion that either Mesopotamian people came here and colonized the area, or if not, then at least the inspiration for the civilization came from Mesopotamia. This lingered on for decades. Then later on, in Afghanistan, in Balochistan and Sindh, we found the traces of pre-Harappan culture. You must have heard a place called Kilegul Muhammad, Mehergarh. Right from prehistoric times to Harappan times, and even after Harappan period, we have got a clear-cut, continuous cultural horizon. So we find that now nobody looks to West Asia for the origin of Harappan culture, and it is now believed that Harappan culture is indigenous in its origin. Now comes the chronology. How we come about chronology, there are three things we have to bear in mind. Well, inscriptions have not been deciphered, that is, you all know, despite the fact that there are many attempts and there are few claims, but still we know that it has not been deciphered. Because if we say Brahmi has been deciphered, then you read the same letter, I read the same letter, the same way as anybody could read. But they say, I have deciphered Indus script. Another man says, I have deciphered it. But you see, they are so different from each other, and they don't make any sense later. Anyway, so there was earlier, what happened, in Mesopotamia, there was a king called Sargon of Akkad. Now the Sargon of Akkad, the date earlier was about 2800 BC. So what happened, certain seals, certain beads, and many other objects of the Indus manufacture have been found in several sites of Western Asia, indicating the trade contact between the two cultures. Now there, what is there is actually certain objects were found below the Akkadian level, certain with Akkadian level, a certain after it. You know, in archaeology we call from stratigraphy, then we will say some part of Harappan culture is pre-Akkadian, some contemporary with Akkadian, some post-Akkadian. And in that, Marshall dated Harappan civilization from 3250 BC to 2750 BC. That was the date prescribed for. Later on, somehow, the date of Sargon of Akkad was 2350 BC. the correction was there. Now naturally, Wheeler said that the civilization began or started 2500 BC and lingered on up to 1500 BC. This 1500 BC date, he could make out one thing, because by the time there is an opinion of the scholars that the Aryans came in India as invaders. There is a theory. Still some people follow it. But there are now few, there are many earlier. And so he said that Aryans were responsible for the destroying of the civilization. Aryans came in 1500 BC, so let us put this date. Now after that, again we have got carbon dating. And this is what Professor Singh and others who are here, Professor Bakar. Will this anything somehow we have an opinion that science, whatever science is correct. It is definitely it is correct, but correct for the day on which it is announced. It's not a permanent correction. For it was that 5560 something was the earliest date for the half-life of carbon-14. You know, carbon-14 and carbon-12 are two carbon-12, even after the death of an object or for the destroy of a tree or something, the carbon material, half-life means in comparison to carbon-14 remains constant and it decays, and say 5600 some odd. Now there's 5730, they say now half-life, and they say no, we are now still more years have passed for half-life, then whatever changes they will say we will incorporate, and they still say that in future what will happen we do not know. But anyway, this was the dating. Now at present there will never be unanimity, obviously I will tell you, and it is good. There should not be unanimity, because you have got an opportunity to write in your paper. So and so says, so and so says, no, I say this, right or wrong, an opportunity for writing paper. The people, they sometimes in seminar they say, unfortunately the Harappan script has not been deciphered. Say, call it fortunately, it has not been deciphered, because it gives you an opportunity to write a new article and arrange a new seminar. Anyway, that's besides the say. Now, so again they say that it may be about 3200 BC up to 1300 BC. Some people say we can say the continuity of the culture. Some will stop at 1500 BC, but then that doesn't matter. Now, then about racial types. Fortunately, I will again say use this word. These days, this racial type is now nobody bothers about. But there was a time, because after all, when the English people were writing, they had to distinguish between the race that they belong to and the Indians. Maybe, I do not know necessarily. There were very good scholars, pro-Indian scholars, who criticized them. Not all of them, we can generalize, isn't it? It will be unfair. There are certain Indians who followed those who were the colonial type of approach, and there were certain British people and other European people who were following the one which is pro-Indian. That's a different matter. But anyway, we'll say that when at Mohenjo-daro, when these skeletons were studied, then they say that there are 4 races. And the 4 races, they say Proto-Australide, Mongolide, Alpine, and Mediterranean. And if they say that any of them could be nearer to what the concept of Aryan is, that would be Alpine. And they also said Mongolide would be, they say, from Central Asia. Some might be, some person have migrated from that. I'm not going to go to discuss this matter. Now, when at Lothar and other places, they say the 2 more racial affinities they found, and one is Caucasoid and the other is Armenoid. Now I'll not talk about it, neither I'm interested, this is not a very good one. Then first thing is what is typical Harappan culture and how we say about Harappan culture. There are 3 phases. Generally there are 3 phases of every culture: the beginning, the maturity, and the decadence. That is generally the one. But here it is there, they say, what they said, Pre-Harappan ones, they call it now, most of them call it now early Harappans. Because some of the traits of the culture which they named as Pre-Harappan were found in Harappan. And so there is a tendency now to say that what we call Pre-Harappan. For example, at Kalibanga in Rajasthan, they used to say that Pre-Harappan culture and Harappan culture. Similarly, they talked about it on other sites also, but now there is almost consensus. I'll always be, because somebody will stand up and say, no, I don't believe in it. So there will be pre-Harappan, and they say mature Harappan, and then they say late Harappan, somebody say decadent Harappan, somebody say devolved Harappan. Well, these are terminologies, but mostly I find that people like Professor Lal, he referred to Eminent Archaeologist, who has been given Padma Vibhushan for his archaeological work, and was a former Director General. I mean, just a little bit personal. I worked with him when I was in Archaeological Survey from 57 to 60. I worked with him in excavations and know that what type of depth he had about archaeology. Anyway, so this is about the terminology. Now, one thing is, if I say Harappan objects have been found in Western Asia, well, then you must be very sure about it. Why I call it Harappan must be typical. There must be something which is typical Harappan. No confusion whatsoever. One is the seal. The script which has not been deciphered, seal with that script has been found in Western Asia. Well, obviously, nobody will deny it doesn't came just jumping, it came because of trade contacts. And you know, about 30 seals, even more than might have been found, my knowledge is up to 30 seals have been found in different sites, and people are saying that there were certain people who were just mediators in between, staying there. On the one hand, they would trade with India, on the other hand with Western Asia. So that's then we have pottery, typical pottery, the shape and the painting. All, you know, somehow or other, in spite of the fact that we believe that when early man, whatever he does is mostly common. For example, all script will start with pictographic script, because that's the only way we have to start it, and later on then logographic, then syllabographic, and then ultimately I'd say this alphabetic. Anyway, so this is, we have got goblets, we've got dishonest stand, we've got say S-shaped one, they are perforated jar, so many things typically which are found only in Harappan culture and in no other culture. So it is easy for us to identify, no problem for that. Then there are certain, you see, the Harappan civilization is considered to be the earliest planned town planning civilization. That's the most important thing. In Mesopotamia, civilization was there. Also in Egypt, the civilization was there. But there, the houses, you see, the road, encroaching the roads. And then in Mesopotamia, they were using only mud bricks. But in Harappa, we have got example at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, the most important two sites, we have got big brick houses. Now at Lothal and Kalibangan, we have got mud brick houses. In Surkotada, which is in Gujarat, and Dholavira, most important two sites, they are of stone. So obviously, depending upon the facilities, they used to say like that. Then we have got, you see, not only that, we have got a type of beads, etched beads, and certain weights and measures, which is surprising that the weights and the measures that were used in Harappan are the same which is used in the historical period, and some of them continue even today. Biennial, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and then decimals. You know, so just let me tell you that in this, we are always talking about Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and this. But there are only 20 cities in the Harappan civilization, and there are hundreds of village sites, hundreds of them. But no archaeologist would like to dig the village site. Because he is not going to find their seals, he is not going to find any precious thing. So his report will be a very poor report, nothing very important. So nobody is interested to dig a village site. You know, it's very, very rare that one. Say for example, Alamg Report in Meerut district is a village site. And also, for example, Ropar in Punjab is a village site. 2, 3, 4, very few sites have been, village sites have been. Otherwise, it's based on exploration and mostly these cities. Now, I hope that is the concept, but let me talk about town planning and then art. Well, art of the Harappan, you will be wondering that some of the art pieces of the Harappans are the best art pieces in the whole world. You know that up till now, from Harappa, Mohenjo-daro and any other site, we didn't have any pillars. Generally because the stone which can be cut in pillars was not available in these areas. But in Dholavira, for the first time, Dholavira is in Kutch. Now here, Mr. Bist was the Additional Director General of Archaeology, excavated it. And then those pillars, has anybody of you seen those Dholavira pillars? No? You've seen it. Tiwari ji, good to see you. So kind, very nice. So I was lucky in a way. Mr. Bist, he was my student. Mr. Bist, who passed in 64 MA examination, he requested me to visit Dholavira. But it was far off. And somehow one story I heard that in the bed of Bist, in the night, a cobra was flying this on the bed. So my wife said, no, whatever has come with me, I'll not allow you to go. So, but what happened, I was just delivering some lecture to the Institute of Archaeology in Delhi, and Bist had brought Dholavira material there. And so full day, he explained me this all material, and I was lucky. I said, well, my wife didn't allow me. I'm very lucky that at least I have been able to see the Dholavira material, wonderful material. Anyway, so that's one I'm going to talk about, because you will not find in the report of Marshall or Mackay or Wheeler about them, because they will be talking about Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. This is these recent excavations, one of the most recent excavations, largest site of the Harappan culture. You know, this Dholavira is very interesting. Anyway, so we have got, and you know, in Harappa, we had 2 torsos. Torsos means head is not there, legs are not there, this portion is there. And they are so artistic, so supple, and so majestic that they say that only Greek art is of the type. And they say that if they would have not found in the excavations, people would have defined, if they would have been found in surface, they would recall that they are the Greek pieces. And then you know the bull on seal, that majestic bull, perhaps you will be wondering that no bull figure in the world can match that one. It is the Rampura bull of Ashok is of a different stock. Anyway, and then there are 2 terracotta figurines, one from Lothal, another from Mohenjo-daro, and another still from Nowshera, that we have got beautiful bull figures. Now, there are some beautiful beads. You know, bead industry was very popular in Harappan culture. Some of the people are very much interested in having ornament, both male and female, they used to wear ornaments. Now, there is one particular head which we call priest head. We have given, in order to understand some nomenclature having what actually is represented, nobody knows. But since that figure has half closed, half open eyes, and the concentration seems to be on the tip of the nose, and since in the yogic kriya it is said that this is one of the, you see, poses of a yoga, that half closed and half open eyes and just concentrating on the tip of the nose, so they say that is called a priest. And now it has become popular within inverted comma whenever they say the priest head, and they will put it in inverted comma, meaning thereby that this is just what agreed upon, but we can't say what it is. So that is also it is wearing a shawl, and the shawl has a trefoil pattern. The way it is wearing is the same as we find Buddha wearing in the historical period, and even now I find when the Vice Chancellor Sahib was generous to make me wear it. I was just remembering that in the same way he is wearing the shawl in the same way. Anyway, so when we are talking about beads, beads are of several material. They are of quartz, carnelian. Most popular was carnelian. After Mr. Singh, you know that perhaps carnelian is the 6th or 7th hardness. Yes. Carnelian, and in more scale of hardness, they say one is talc, gypsum, chloride, fluoride, and so on and so forth. So that's the hard. 10th is the diamond. So this was the type of the bead. It is called long barrel bead. It's almost of this size of my finger, slightly. You see here, little bit chiseled. Here also chiseled, and then it is said that if one tries to follow the same method of making, for making one bead, one will require 3 days. 3 days for making one bead, and we have hundreds of beads. We have got, not only that, we have got bead factory in say Lothal, in Banawali, and half made, half finished, full made, and all sorts of things are there. There was more than 500 beads in one place. So they were, these beads are there. Then when we straight-eyed beads, we've got paste beads, we have got, say, gold beads. In Lothal, a number of gold beads have been found. Very small, but then anyway, quite interesting. Now, some are copper. Now, seal making was definitely a very important industry. We have found thousands of seals total. We have got now 2 corpus. One is from Parpola and Joshi, and another is Parpola and Khan. 2 corpus of seals in India and Pakistan have now very recently been prepared. Now, on the seals, that what was the purpose of the seals? Some people say that these are not actually for sealing purpose. Sealing means just like we put the letter and parcel and seal it. There are so many opinions. Some people say they were used as amulets. Some people say that there is written some what in Vedic script, the Vedic hymns are written on those seals. Some people say they were used for stamping the cloth. Now, but it is known for in Lothal, when the excavations at Lothal were conducted, then there what happened, fortunately, an archaeologist is said that an archaeologist, if you want to have the ideal type of site for excavation, is that site must have been burned. Why? Because whatever things are there, they will remain where they are. That is what Hercules and Pompeii. Please let me know if I have exceed. It doesn't matter. How much time I can afford?
Sir, you have sufficient time. Sir.
No,
Sir, please carry on.
Okay. Then I'll try to be a little bit. Then let us come to the economic side. Agriculture, since Hori passed to present day, despite the fact that the changing pattern are there in the present day. But then at Kalibanga, which is a Harappan site in Rajasthan, we have found the earliest archaeological evidence of a plot field. It's a miracle. Normally, if it is not a very expert archaeologist, he will just dig it and those furrows will never be seen. I myself had found great difficulty at little bit of cutting I had already done of mud brick. And then later I found that no, I was cutting the structures very difficult. But then the furrows are east, west and north, south. And you know that means that two crops were grown, you know, one must be mustard and the other must be gram. Why I say these? Because these are the two seeds grown together with furrows, say, on left, north, south and east, west. Now, even now in Rajasthan and Haryana, the same pattern is followed. So, in the world history, this is the first archaeological evidence of a plot field found. See, that's quite interesting. Now, in Banavali, which is a site of Harappan culture in Haryana, we have got a terracotta plough, whole plough. And this is the same type of plough which is being used in Haryana and Punjab. Now, we have got, you know, this, how is this, we have got millet, got rahi, we got, say, wheat, barley, and a few rice in Luthal. In Harappan Mojadaro, they couldn't find rice. And you all can say, how could you find these seeds? Because fortunately they got burned. You know, it's very difficult to keep seeds for 1 year or 2 years. You see, very difficult, you know, after all. But then these could be identified because they were burned and they remained as they are. After burning, there is no decadence. So these type of most of them, they were producing in this area. North Harappa and Mojave, mostly wheat region. Still, it's only very recently that we started growing, say, rice there. When the Haryana and this Punjab region is more popular now for rice than Dehradun basmati. Somehow it's a chance, but you know, rice takes a lot of water, and so the problem of water will be there for these people because the underwater is going down and down. But anyway, so ivory things have also been found. You perhaps know that in Harappa we have got on seals. The animals that have been represented are rhinoceros, elephant, tiger. You see, besides other things, I'm mentioning only these because, you know, these days they are not found there. So there was a time when the climate was different and these animals were living there in that region. See, so ivory objects have been made, some very interesting, and these have been found not only in India but outside India also due to trade. Irrigation would have been through canal or through wells, and I hope you at Dhalavira for the first time they said that there was a special type of arrangement for collecting the monsoon water in a tank, big tank, and then with the help of the bullocks as they are used for that, taking water out. Well, this was done in Dhalavira. Now, for transport, we have got, say, the models in terracotta of, say, bullock carts, and also of ekka. Modern ekka, no, not seen, but earlier in Lucknow, ekkas were very popular. And also boats for the seafaring. You know, at least I'm coming to that later on, but anyway. And then we have got weights and measures, you know, for weighing things and for measuring. Some weights have been found in Bari, made by Harappans. Some have been found in Western Asia. You know, after all, when they were purchasing things and selling things, you must have agreed upon a standard form of weight, which could be acceptable to those people and these people. It was the Harappan weight that was acceptable because these have been found in those areas. Now, there is, at Luthal, we have found a dockyard. Luthal is in Ahmedabad district, about 80 kilometers from Ahmedabad, and it was situated earlier between the two rivers Sabarmati and Bhogava. And these Sabarmati ultimately, you see, falls in Arabian Sea. Now what happened during tide, you see, ships could sail from these and through these rivers would reach the dockyard here. This was sometimes people thought that this was a tank. Lawrence Lesnick wrote a paper like that. But then there was a committee formed, and ultimately the committee said that this was dockyard use. So from this, the ships would sail through Mediterranean and then go to Mesopotamia, go to Egypt and other places. And there was one place, Sukagindor, you see, where also they used to, from there they used to go by water and then ultimately go to these places. Now, in these documents of Western Asia, we have got information that they were trading with three regions: Delmon, Matan, and Meluha. In these, your script has not been deciphered, but the script has been deciphered. The Rosetta Stone was deciphered, and the hieroglyphic script of Egypt was known. Then cuneiform script was, the Baistun inscription of Delhi was deciphered, and we know the cuneiform script of Mesopotamia. So they could read, and in those documents written that in the time of Sarganafakkar, people used to go to Gelman, Makan, and Meluha. The identification of these is very difficult, but generally people say Meluha is India, the Harappan sites. And then they say that from about 1900 or 2000 BC, the trade with Meluha was almost stopped. And we find that this is nearer the mature Harappan civilization is coming to an end. Now, so this would show you that we do not know. The Meluha has been tried to somebody say that it can be said Malaysia. But why those people will call us Malaysia, or rather we'll call them Malaysia, but so Meluha and Malaysia, I do not know, but this is what they said. Now, burials, after all, as people are fastidious about their life when they are living, they are known as fastidious when the people die. And you know that for the grandeur, the pharaohs, the tombs of the pharaohs, richest in the world, where we can say that the GDP of so many countries will not be so much as the minerals and the mine, the other things, the gold and other in these pharaohs' tombs. But in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, very simple burials. Whether we have not been able to find any such type of house which can be called a royal house as different from the other ones. We've not been able to find any such tomb which can be called it is a royal tomb. All ordinary things, nothing precious in them. But anyway, we have generally the persons were buried north south, head north side, and generally they believed that the person who is dying still needs certain things which he needed in life, and so kept there the grave goods, pots, food material. Sometimes if he was a man he was a army person, then some weapon of his. So like that they felt it is there. But of course, when you go to Egypt and Mesopotamia, we know that even the queens have been killed and buried along with the tomb of the king. Fortunately, here, if they were queens, they were not buried. Anyway, so at Lothal, we have got in three graves, 2 persons buried together. Some people say that their wife, husband, but the anthropologists studied them. There is even difference of opinion among anthropologists. One anthropologist says one male, one female. Another says no, both are male. So Prof says Veda vivinna, Smrteo vivinna, Nasar muni yasya matam na bhinna, dharmasya tattvam nitam goaya, mahajanu yenidadasa pantha. So here we have said, Ved are not one, 4. Smriti not one, many. Or there cannot be any Muni who has not said something new. Otherwise, we will be quoting somebody unless you have said something new. And saying something new has done so much of harm to academics that anyway, that's by the way. So whether that is what they call their husband, wife, or their other, we do not know, but they may be or they cannot. Then there are two burials which were buried in coffin. And this is not Indian way. And coffin burials are very common in Mesopotamia. So they say that Mesopotamian people staying over here, when he died or she died, they gave him that type of burial which was usual in Mesopotamia. I hope you remember that in modern administration, there were 6 committees, or one committee was only exclusive for the foreigners. And it is specially written, when foreigner dies, he should be given the same type of burial as is the practice in his country. So we can say that this was there. For recreation, well, children played like the games which play. There this what we call pittu. There are all such type of examples, and there are whistles, playing, say rattles, using of masks, and so many other things children used to play. The elder one, there's gamesmen have been found at Lothal, which shows that some game, more or less like the chess game, was there in at least at Lothal. This was played, and gambling, that unfortunately somehow either which has Mahabharata, and this gambling was very popular. And not only that, even the dice of Indian Harappan made have been found in Western Asia. So much of popular it might have been. Typical type of, say, dice. And then, of course, in the Vedic literature we have got people weeping, well, hereafter I'll never go for playing on dice, because I've lost everything. My wife has been lost, my property has been lost. This is all the lamenting in the Vedic literature. So these Harappans, well, again, they were playing dice. I'll be hurrying up little on. Then we will talk about the social stratification. Well, we can say that there were certain people, there are as we can say Harappans had citadel and city. All the cities have got at least two mounds. One higher mound where the elite, meaning thereby whatever the king, higher officials, maybe senior priests, they were there, and the lower mound where the commoners were there. So this sort of stratification of king, higher, and the lower mound would be there. Then those who were making the coppersmiths would have been there, the seal makers would have been there, the traders would have been there. The traders would have been what we call the Vaishyas. And there were the laborers, who can be called Udras. There are very few, the weapons have been found in Harappan Mohenjo-daro. So if there were Kshatriyas, their number would have been very few. Politically, it's difficult to say that there was a Harappan Empire, but there were several kingdoms. There is a theory that there is Harappan Empire, and this whole area was under one king whose capital was Mohenjo-daro. There are other people who say there are these Kalibanga, Lothal, Banavali, they are provincial headquarters. There are others who say that there were many kingdoms. There is a concept whether the king was secular or there was a priest king. It's very difficult to say, we can only guess. Now, how it decayed, now I'm coming to almost here. So many theories have been put. One was the Aryan invasion, we talked about. They say that the Harappans were living in northwest, and Harappans are Dravidians. The Aryan came from northwest and then pushed them to south, and that's why that the Dravidian languages, there is one language, Brahui. This Brahui language is akin to the Dravidian language. And this Brahmi language is spoken in Balochistan and Sindh. So they say that there was a time when the Dravidians were living in northwest, the Aryans came, they pushed them to south, and those who were there in northwest, they are the people who are the descendants of the Harappans. Now that is one view. Then there are other people that there may be floods in certain areas. Then the climate change was there. Then some people were so much of cutting of the forest for baking of say bricks. Well, the whole thing, so many problems could be there. And then there is what we hinted that there are, despite the fact that we call it young or devolved or degenerate or transformation, whatever words you use, well, we have got so many things. The Shiva Pashupati, the Shad type of cult, the mother goddess cult, the cult of the phallus, and the you can say the vagina and other type of worship, the animal worship, the tree worship, and so many evidence are there. And then there is a theory whether the Harappans and the Aryans are the same. Well, there are three possibilities. Either Harappans and Aryans are identical, or Aryans formed one of the group of the population, or they are two contemporary civilizations. Well, I'm pretty sure that, well, despite the fact that I have to little bit, I know that if Vice Chancellor sees his watch, then I must be. I was looking towards you, sir. I know it. You have only not to hear me, you have many things to do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I deem it an honor to have been invited to deliver this keynote address, and to have been honored. Well, it's the type of the words that Vice Chancellor has spoken for the department. Well, I'm sure that you'll do something great, something good. And then ultimately someday I'll come and see your museum. Thank you very much for inviting me.